This weekly Blender competition is brought to you by Grand Abbott. Grand Abbott provides Blender tutorials for beginners and experienced users such as sculpting, modeling, texturing, animating, and a lot more. So make sure you check out his channel and Discord if you haven't already. You can find a link in the description. Welcome at the weekly Blender competition number 10, which I'm going to criticize the art entries and I'm going to choose a first, second and third place winner. And the subject for this week was to create photorealistic art. We have 12 entries, which is a surprising number for a hard task like this, and I really appreciate that you guys have joined. And I just want to say that I'm a little bit sick, so my apologies for that. And the first entry is of Crabson. He actually revealed that his name is Crabs1, but he also said we can call him the way we like to. In this case, you made a very nice bathroom with a lot of texturing in there, not just something clean. This is also something that Andrew Price has been saying, if things look too clean, it looks too fake out. I really like the whole look of it, but there is still something that is bothering me. I will talk about that in a second. First of all, these plants down here, they look a little bit too light. Now, I have been googling for reference pictures for a lot of bathrooms, a lot of plants, and I can't help but noticing that these plants needs a little bit more darkness. Now I will just take some pictures with it. I have been scrolling for miles and miles because I didn't just want to give some critic out of my mind. I really wanted to give critic from reference pictures, from real life pictures, because, you know, that is realistic. So yeah, I noticed that a lot of plants are just very dark, and when I found a light plant, most of the time this plant has a little bit of yellowy in it. So I would just say make the plants dark. The only moment when you see plants like this one has a very light effect on it is when there is a window and the sun is directly shining onto it. Here again, and yeah, that is just something that I notice. Like this one, for example, is very indoors. It has a very darkish color. That is the first thing I did notice. So maybe make the plants a little bit darker would have done the job. But there is something in overall that bothers me a lot more, and that is the color in overall. Now, I've been looking at this picture, I've been thinking, what is the whole thing down here? So I went looking for more bathrooms, and then I actually discovered that it might be the shadows. I look at a lot of pictures, and I see a lot of pictures. There is a lot of shadowing going on onto underneath this furniture, underneath the water thing down here, the tap itself. There's a lot of shadowing going on. I have looked at many pictures trying to figure out what is exactly the point. Now, of course, here once again there are a lot of windows, so there is a lot more light coming in. You see a lot of shadowing, and that is something that I'm kind of missing down here in this picture. There is a little bit, but it's very soft and very light shadowing. But anything else, the size in overall, the size of all the stuff in here is very on point. That is sometimes a difficult thing to make all the sizes look realistic. But anything besides that, I think this is a very realistic looking art. Very nice job, Crabson. And besides that, there is one more thing, and that is, I would say, turn off all the extra effects. I see a lot of bathrooms. You might have used a little bit of blur effect in this picture. Turn that stuff off. Get the glare out of it. Maybe you just went for this look as you wanted. But I think for realism, if you want to really go for that, just don't use any After Effects and make it look natural as possible. But anything else, I really like this picture what you've made here. It's very modern, it's very fresh. So good job with that, Crabson. Second entry is of Bacardi. He says in Discord, donut, very straight on. And I believe this is from Andrew Price, of course. Even though I've got a lot of respect for him, I've learned tons and tons of Blender things from him, I still have something to say about this. And overall, of course, this picture looks very nice, but I can't help noticing, besides this very delicious, realistic looking donut texture, that it's very spiky at the outline down here. It should be a lot lesser. For some reason, I think you had to make it bumpy so the light and stuff would look better. Maybe you could have hide this a little bit by using an HDRI, because there's also not much reflection onto the dish. Excuse me. Even if it was a studio, you would have seen a little bit of studio lamp onto it. I do see a little bit of reflection, but I can help if this is from the dish itself, or maybe the HDRI isn't strong enough, because you can also set up the strength of it, because the picture overall can use a little bit more light. Now, about the sprinkles, I'm not going to judge. I do know a way how you could actually do the sprinkles without they would touch each other, and without you have to place it manually. I need to give myself a kick under the butt for actually make more tutorials. So who knows, I will show it you guys. But there is one thing about the tutorial I've noticed myself with Andrew Price too, that I actually don't like about this donut. It's a little bit of a shame, and that is the outline of the stuff that is on it. Don't know what it's called at this moment. It's a little bit too thick, and it's a little bit, I would say, too soft, and the texture in overall on it, it's a little bit too much the same. I have been looking at many donuts. I really like to use reference pictures with this realistic stuff, so I can better judge some things. Now, of course, as you can see at this donut, it's a very nice, fresh straight line, and of course you have donuts where it's very messy. But with both donuts, you can actually very see that the light goes through it at the edge a little bit. Even at this one. There are some pictures that show it a lot better, because these donuts are a little bit far away. It's very small though. But there are some donuts that really show what I actually mean. Like here you can very good see it's a very thin outline. There is more randomness into the structure of the texture. It's very blurry, very good. But I think you get what I mean here. Bummer. Well, what I mean actually is you have this option down here, which is called subsurface, which lets the light coming through for a little bit. But overall, a very nice picture. I would just say HDRI, a little bit more light, use a subsurface, and make use of the reflection. So, nice job, Bacardi. The third entry is of Titania, if I pronounce that the right way. And you made a ice cream onto a cone. Now, I have to say, I barely remember it, but I think I have seen a tutorial about this that looks exactly the same. I even found like a picture of it. This is 3D stuff too. But for realism, it looks very on point for a beginning, but it needs a little bit of job. Now, what I would say about the sprinkles is there should be more from the top, and when you go down to the bottom it should be lesser, so you should actually use like weight paint, so it would from a lot to less the more you go down. I would also say don't place any sprinkles underneath the ice cream. Unless the ice cream actually, now I'm thinking of it, so excuse me for that. If you place the ice cream horizontal in a like box of sprinkles, then of course you could have a lot on it. Yeah, it just depends on how the sprinkles get put onto it actually. I'm putting myself back from that. I like the ice cream. It's very soft. I would say it needs a little bit more a random bumpiness. It's the surface everywhere looks kind of the same, and it could use some chops out of it, like very small chops out of it, chops here and chops there, which it's, you know, a little bit based on real ice cream. I just trying to scroll and see if I can find one. Of course, this is soft ice instead of, yeah, here it is. Now, this is a realistic picture, I believe, and you can see there is a small bump here and there with, you know, the ice chopped out of it. And the cone itself, yeah, you can just clearly see it's like a texture. I did once made a ice cream king cone, and I actually modeled the cone itself, so it looked more realistic. And I would say it needs a little bit of orangey in there, just a little bit, not too much, or brown, orangey or brown. It's very yellowy, but I like this one in overall. It's very smooth, soft ice. So nice job with that. Thank you for joining, by the way. And the fourth entry is of Lesimus, if I pronounced that the right way. You've made a very nice, what is it called? Vinyl player, DJ table, machine. I really like this picture in overall. It's a very nice shot. But I can't help noticing, and I'm not talking about this down here, because I believe you have used denoiser, and in order to get rid of this stuff, you need to have a very high sample in order to let the denoiser do his job better. But it's actually the outline of this lamp down here. I believe, if I'm not wrong, this is the Studio HDRI, right? I think I've used it like last week, and it reminded me a lot of that. It's very good to use. You have used an HDRI, which makes it a lot more realistic because of the reflection down here. There's a lot more to see on it. I really like the way how you have the effect onto this vinyl plate. It's very important to have this. I just don't know what it's called. It's this one, right? Anisotropic effect. Maybe that is the correct one. Realism. Like I said at Crabson 1, maybe you shouldn't have gone for the glowy effect. I have noticed, like, when, like, of course there is a little bit of focus sometimes on pictures, but if you really would like to show off this table, maybe a little bit more of an overall picture onto this table, what do you want to show exactly, get this glow effect away. Of course, effects is a very nice thing, but it's very hard to see if it's, how can I say this? It takes away the realism effect. That is what I think. Like glow, glare, that kind of stuff. I think it's very much a movie effect-ish thing. It is more of a personal thing that I'm saying here. Because there are pictures that has like blur because it's focusing on one specific thing. Maybe it could focus on the needle, you know, it would be like more in the middle, and then it only focus on the needle because there's something with the needle that's very high detailed, or whatever, there's even some dust on it. Then you would really like to focus on the needle being high detailed and the rest would be blurry. But in this case, like this glare-ish effect, I think it takes away the realism of the overall picture. The same for this outline here. Like movies are fake, right? That is what they say. But I really like how much work you've done onto texturing, the effect onto the plate, the wood effect onto the machine itself, the HDRI. I would almost say it looks like there is some dust on it, but it's the effect of the denoiser. Is there like a little lamp on here? No, it's not a little lamp. I would say nice effect. I do like it in overall. It's a very nice model though. There is enough lighting going on in order to see all the detailing. And I would like to see also a lot more of your work. Same goes for this ice cream one. Welcome at the competition, by the way. I really like this. The next entry is of Photorealistic, which is a very, very nice one if it's about the color balance into this picture. I do have a few things to say. First of all, a very good job, because it's very difficult to have something simplistic look amazing, but I still think in overall it really looks good. The few things that I have to say about is, for example, the first one is the reflection is a little bit too tight. It's a little bit you probably put it on 100%, I'll guess. But once again, I have been looking at many reference pictures to just get a good idea of what you've been doing and what should have been done a little bit better. And as you can see onto the reflection effect, it's a little bit blurred out. That might be the effect onto the cherry itself, I would say. But might also be a little bit of the effect onto the overall glossiness. What am I talking? Yeah, glossiness. Over here you can see the same. There is a little bit blurry going on onto the reflection. The reflection in overall, there is enough of that, which is very good. But again, a lot of these pictures, you can see there is a little bit of blurriness going on. So I would just say, don't jam it up all the way to, what is that? The roughness, don't jam it all the way up, but leave it a little bit before the zeros. Just play around with it, just take a reference picture with it. The texture in overall onto the cherry is very nice. It looks very on point. Of course, you can always keep messing around with, does it need to be a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. Maybe have a little bit, for next time, a little bit of change into the darkness, like it has one certain darkness onto it with a lot of spots. Well, maybe the darkness could be a little bit more here, a little bit less there, just depending on where it starts. I really like this one. I really would like to also give you, the proper critic onto this, so you can just improve a cherry. It's very simplistic something, but it's still a very big challenge to make something nice out of it. No, we're not gonna do that. So the only other thing that I would say is the top of the whatever it's called. It looks like a hardwood thing that has been glued onto it. Try to make it more seamless, I would say. The transaction between sometimes English, I wish I would knew more about the words, but a transaction between the stick and the the thing on the top, make it more smooth flowing. Like here you can see there is still some green on it. It looks like a rope around the stick. Here it's like bigger than the stick. You have to be careful with clicking non-realistic pictures, but what you can see in overall, it's bigger than the stick itself where it comes together. More critic I cannot give. Maybe if you really want to go nuts, add some water effect of drops onto it. Just make it look like it's fresh for some commercial, like little water drops on this thing and a little bit onto the ground itself. If you could improve all of these little things, it would certainly look pretty realistic. This is certainly one of my favorite, and of course you can also do a little bit more about the stick itself. It's about the texturing. Just give it a little bit more of this change in the green, dark green, light green. Like sometimes you just see a little bit of darkness here and there, and lightness. This is such a challenge. Like I really love this one. Very good job on this one, Photorealistic. Entry number 6 is of Dictator. He says in Discord, wanted to post an old artwork, but then I realized I needed to practice. Blender made with Blender. Well, there is nothing better than a Blender made with Blender, and you can of course better practice than using old artwork. The first thing that I can help noticing is that the apples compared with the glass and the Blender are very small. They need to be a lot bigger, and or it needs to be it needs to have a little more reflection. Now, I'll guess you have made this in Eevee because I see like tons and tons of lamps down here. If you use cycles, you use a lot lesser lamps, or, which is a lot better, if you would use an HDRI, you can also use that for Eevee, if I'm not wrong. It's very simple. You just go to the world settings, and then you go to environment texture, and then you select HDRI. There are many websites who give free away HDRI. You can take one from a room, and then the reflection onto your Blender will look a lot better. So that is about these lamps, and then you don't have too much trouble with these lamps. I do know, by the way, in cycles a check mark somewhere, I don't know, I have tried to check this out before. It's not the visibility, because it will just turn it off, as in turning it off down here. But I have used in cycles for some of things. It would say for camera or something like that. Then you uncheck it, and the light will still be, it will still light your scene up, but the lamp itself won't be visible onto the reflection. I just don't know at this moment how you can do that with Eevee, but it is possible if you don't want to use HDRIs. Anything else, I think it looks very on point. As in overall picture, I really like the color onto the Blender itself. So good job with that, Dictator. We are finally past the half. Entry number 7 is of Chris Brown. Chris Brown says in Discord, with this week's challenge being realism, I thought it would be easy to do a glass of orange juice. Once I got into it, I quickly found out how wrong I was. Fortunately, my family gave me a lot of good feedback on this project. In fact, it wasn't for all the help my brother gave me on the lighting. I don't think I would have gotten this far. I really don't think that this picture hits the mark, but after all hard work that was put into it, I was not going to submit nothing. Well, I am very happy you still joined in, because I can give you some feedback on it, and even you sound like a very, very beginner, which is not a bad thing. You need to learn to get better. You tried, and trying makes you a winner already. You were going for orange juice. Now of course first I thought it's a little bit too white. But then I start looking at reference pictures, and I noticed there are also orange juices which have a very whitish texture on it. So I would say you are on a good way of becoming a Blender artist. Now the best thing, of course, always is just try to use reference pictures. There are a lot of things to learn. You cannot do everything in once if you're a beginner. The only thing that I could say, you gave the glass some thickness, so that is very good. You didn't give up, it's very good. I would just say the glass needs a little bit of more smoothness. I believe, I'm not going to count it, but I believe you used a 32 vertices ring to start off with. You could do that, but then you need to add in, it's subdivision surface. It will even make it more smoother. But there are a lot of things to learn as a beginner, and I can throw all kinds of stuff into your face, but that is not really fair. I think you've done a good job by just keep on going, ask advice. The only advice that I can give you is always try to use reference pictures. You don't have to make it exactly like the picture, but try it. Keep on learning tutorials. Grant, for example, did like tutorials the last few days about hard surface modeling. He will show you how you can make more bendy stuff, make it more smooth. He gives all kinds of good information about that. I think it's very nice that you've made a texture on it. Yeah, I don't know. It looks kind of nice. Even though everything can use a lot more work, just keep on blending and keep on joining the competition. I really would like to see you grow, getting better and better and better. But for a beginner and first time joining, I think it's very, very nice. So join again, Chris Brown. Entry number 8 is of Florin Wojcilev, if I pronounce it the right way. If not, let me know down below in the comment section. Welcome with the competition. You made a back real life steak pan baked pretzels. I really like that. The first thing I did notice is actually the back where you crack it open. Looks a little bit weird. It's almost like a balloon has popped and you just ripped off a piece of rubber from it, or latex, or whatever it's made of. So this needs to be a little bit more tighter. I actually noticed later on that the back is going through the table, but it's just a small mistake. That can always happen. Yeah, but the crack in the back itself needs to be a little bit more sharper, or at least ending where it ends up. It needs to be like a little bit of a triangle effect in here. Same for here. Lesser humpy and bumpy. I actually tried to make a back myself, and I had to redo it a few times before I slightly got a little bit of a back effect. It's not easy to make a back like crunchy and cracky as the pretzels itself. And the back is a little bit too bumpy, I would say. It's a little too bumpy because I've got a reference picture down here. Yes, there are little bumps here and there. It needs a little bit lesser in overall. It looks too much like a I've got no idea what I want to say. Yeah, but you can see the difference of the bumpiness on both backs. Now, I would say it also needs a little bit more reflection, but it could be very, very much that, depending on where you live, that the back has a lot of reflection or not, because I just noticed that this back has a little bit lesser reflection onto it, but it's a little bit difficult to make that out on this one because it's so bumpy everywhere. So lesser bumpy will give it more clear of reflection, and of course depending on where you live, it's more visible or less visible. Apparently that is a thing, I didn't even knew that. I had to look at different backs. The pretzels itself looks very tasty, a nice brown. I can tell there is a little bit of texturing going on onto it because some spots are brown, some spots are a little lesser brown. The wood in overall, it looks very old. But I can imagine a table would be made up of this stuff outside. So yeah, just the crack in the back, less bumpy, so the reflection would come out more. The pretzels are very nice, and just take care next time you have a look before rendering that you put the back out of the table. But in overall, I think it looks very nice, so good job with that. Entry number 9 is of Lone Asura. You made it very simple, a cell phone onto a, what I would say, wooden floor. But I think you should have used a little bit of a different background, because for some reason these planks are very small. It feels weird. Different, or have this more scaled out, like you will have, you see 3 planks near each other, so the scale with the phone would be more on point. But anything else, I really like the model of the cell phone. That's why it's a little bit a shame that the texture is so, the background is like this and not different. And I would just say try to add next time some reflection, lightning, and shadowing, like let the light come from a certain point so it makes like a shadow, or use HDRI to have some reflection visible on it. of the surrounding. Those kind of things make it already look more realistic. And yeah, like I said, it's a shame because this cell phone looks really nice. It's a really nice model. So if I ever do a photorealistic thing again, then keep those things in mind. Of course, you can still edit that and show it to me in Discord. I really would like to see that, how it looks then when it looks different. That is all. Very small thing. Entry number 10 is of the Eggman. The Eggman says, "It's good to be back using Blender. Some assets are from Polygon. The piece of art on the wall was made using Krita or Krita. The lighting was difficult to get it right on this one. Ambient occlusion nodes helped me a lot, but may have overdone it." Let me just check it out. What I really like is some of these things in here. What makes a picture very realistic and very living, I would say, is what you've done here. You have dirty dishes into the sink down here, which is a very nice realistic thing to have. So you get definitely some points for that. I really like the detail of having that in here. A lot of these pictures of kitchen, they are very nice and very clean. You did use some textures onto the furniture, kitchen furniture, I would just call it. Onto closet. No, that's not a closet, right? No, not dresser. I don't know. You guys know what I mean. I really like this this artwork down here, and I really like these things down here, which give it a little bit of change of color into the environment. The texture on the door is also very nice. You got some texture stuff going on onto the wall. But I would say in overall, this picture could use a little bit more warmth. It's very white. There's a lot of white in there, mixed up, of course, with the gray, giving the gray effect on. But I just mean white. I'm missing like a little bit of I would say warm colors. Like maybe what you could have done in the back here is expand this piece down here just a little bit and put underneath here some of these lamps. So just put them on, let them shine onto this with a little bit of warm feeling, like just like a little bit of the color of this. Shine onto it. Maybe with the same with one of Crapson of his bedroom, I would say try to get more out of the shadowing. But for that you need to add in lights. It feels I don't feel like there is a lamp on here. Of course there is light, but it feels like it's coming from behind the camera and just shining overall. I'm just missing like natural lighting from these guys down here, or something down here, or maybe a lamp onto the wall that makes yeah, gives it a better light effect. So the shadows would come out a little bit more. I think shadows can make stuff look very realistic, and it's very soft everywhere. So try to play around with that the next time. The size in overall feels very okay. By the way, these things are from Polygon too, right? They are for free. I think they are for free. I'm just thinking of that. These are very nice things, by the way. So yeah, just play around a little bit more with that. But I really like the artwork in overall, and yeah, especially you get some points for the detailing of the dirty, I would say dishes, but there ain't dishes, balls, dirty balls. Yeah, so that is what I've got to say about this one. Yeah, still, you've done a good job for the overall. the Eggman 9. Entry number 11 is of Sentrymon. Sentrymon says, okay, time for my entry. Not entirely satisfied, but it's good enough to enter. Well, it's certainly good enough to enter. I really love the skin. It has a lot of stuff going on, and it's very difficult always to do skins to make it look like as it looks right now. Because you can see the effect of the nose coming back into the skin texture. You can even see imperfections down here, and down here, or whatever it's called, which is a very nice touch of the skin. But there are some things that confuses me a little bit, and I don't really know also how to describe what is going on. Like, if you look very well, in overall the skin looks very light. And over here you see light going on, which I think it could be from a sun that goes under or whatever, because if you look into the eyes, you see like a very warm background between the clouds. Now, it could be very possible that the reflection of this is from the same texture as this, but at a point that we don't see. It's very much a possible thing, but it confuses me a little bit. I would say it needs to be like a more warm background down here. I would be bamboozled if it's really the same texture as in the eye as in this, which we can't see. I really do like the idea of this, staring at the sea, thinking about something. It doesn't have to be sad, because the weather does what it wants. Even if you're very happy, the weather doesn't go shining, whatever. I really do like this picture. I think you've done an amazing job onto the skin. It's really on point. If you want to do a little bit extra, I would say, especially at the outline, you would see like mini skull hair. Like tiny little hairs, very barely visible. If you just hold your arm against the light, or I've seen it with faces or other body parts, which if the light comes from the back a little bit, you can see like tiny little hairs popping up. Yeah, stuff like that. But maybe that is a little bit too much of detailing. Overall, I like it a lot. Entry number 12, the last one, is of Darkness 4498. Doesn't say anything in the Discord. So let's just check out this picture. I really like the tiny little hairs onto the kiwi, if it's called kiwi in English. And the other stuff, of course, has a lot of detail going on. The apples, the banana. For the apple, though, once again, I said it earlier at the cherry and apple of... I can't remember which name it should look down here. Yeah, the cherry and the apple of Dictator. This should be a little bit more shininess onto it, a little bit more reflection to just bang it out a little bit more. The same goes for this dude down here, mandarin, right? Or orange. The banana, though, that's probably I need to do a little bit of research for it, which I've actually kind of done for everyone. So I'm just gonna type in banana. It is done anyway. By the way, I have spent 2 hours for a 30-minute plus video, just for once, because I really wanted to get reference pictures with it. I really took my time to, search all this stuff. I tried to look at things to give judge on, because realism is a very difficult thing. It's not just, say like, oh, it looks nice or it doesn't look nice. Banana looks... Banana's kind of on point, though. I would say a little bit more. The yellow should be a little bit more to the orange. It might sound very too much. Well, I'm just gonna put this down here. Get over here. You can see there's a slightly more orange into this compared with this one. Or it should be a little bit more green into it, because bananas go from green to kinda yellow. Let me just see some more stuff. well, it's kind of on point. Maybe the overall picture could use a little bit more light. I think that's the whole point. A little bit more light onto it. So as you can also see, like a little bit more shadowing going on. A thing that I've said a couple of times with some artworks. The shadowing really does realism, or adds a lot of realism. Yeah, it really could use some light. But overall, I like the idea of just a little bit simplistic, just a fruit basket. And yeah, the textures, you have a lot of texturing going on also for the, I would just say basket. Overall, you got some nice texture here. Very simplistic. I like it. Just add a little more light and work onto a little bit more reflection onto it. Of course, a little bit blurry reflection, of course, not sharp reflection. And the hair, I really like the hair. That adds a lot of realism to it. So good job, Darkness 4498. Oh man, it's been a long competition challenge for me. But I really like to do this for one time, because normally it just, very simplistic to give some critic onto things. But realism is a very difficult thing. I thank everyone so far for joining. A lot of you guys. And now I actually going to choose 3 winners. Alright, I got 3 winners in mind, and I choose all of 3 because of different reasons. On the 3rd place is going to be Crabson. The reason why I choose Crabson on the 3rd place is because this picture is really on point. Besides that, I have said needs a little bit more shadow and maybe leave the effect out of blurry. But it's really on point. There is a lot going on. Textures are very well done. The reflection of the textures, the models is very nice. There are some planes in here, and I think Crabson can improve this a lot. But the 3rd place is for you, Crabson. So good job with that. And the 2nd entry is going to be winner is going to be Sentimon. The reason why I chosen Sentimon in 2nd place, it's just because even though it's confusing with what is exactly going on with the background here and with the background shining in the eyes, the skin is just very on point, and it's super difficult to make it look very, very realistic. Have a lot of stuff going on, and the imperfections, what I said earlier. And I think overall it's a very, very nice picture as the idea here. It can definitely do with some improvement, and that's why I'm putting you on the 2nd place to motivate you to do a lot more with this stuff. So congratulations with that. The 1st place is actually something very simple, and it is something that is definitely my favorite for this competition. For the ones who watched it all know probably who it's going to be. It's gonna be Platypus. Very I just love this picture in overall. I just love the black with the banging red with the nice green, the reflection on here, the texture you've been using, the reflection is almost on point. It just needs a little blurriness. But if you just look at this picture in overall, it's very simple but very detailed. The reflection down here, I just love this picture immediately when I seen this one. But it doesn't, by the way, congratulations with the 1st place, but it doesn't mean that other people haven't been doing a good job, because all of you have tried, all of you have done a good job. But it's very difficult to let something bang out as this one does. This one is just for me banging out. Of course, you can have different ideas about who should be the first, second, and third place winner? If so, then let me know down below in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the critic and compliments I gave. Anything is welcome for me. And yeah, with this being said, by the way, let's see the next challenge. I almost forgot about this. The next challenge is going to be useless inventions. So you just have to think of something that is completely useless. Let me just see. I do going to put a link down below in the description. I really like to give you guys some ideas, because there is someone. Come on, load up the site, please. Load. It's a website called Unnecessary Inventions. Let me just see about what is his name. His name is Matt Benedetto. I'm just going to put this, of course, down here. It's the guy who made really ridiculous inventions, all kinds of unnecessary stuff. You know, a curtain for people who eat with the mouth open. Let me just see. Invention, maybe this would be a better one. AirPods. Sushi shades? Oh yeah, if you're done eating your sushi, you can put these two sticks onto the sides and you can wear it as a sunglasses. Flipping mittens. I don't know exactly what that does, but you know, you get the idea here. So make sure you check this out to get a little bit idea of what kind of ridiculous, useless stuff. Even though some of these things are, you know, could be pretty useful, like this down here, easy reader. So yeah, the deadline for the challenge is going to be February 18, 2300 hours GMT time. And thank you guys also for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more Blender, and also questions and requests are welcome anytime.